January 1st, 2026 opens with champagne corks and countdowns. But beneath the noise of fresh starts, a far quieter rupture is taking shape, one that exposes how celebrity friendships can fracture when cameras stop rolling. For years, Meghan Markle and Serena Williams were presented as an unbreakable duo, a glossy symbol of modern sisterhood, power, and mutual support. Red carpets, Wimbledon boxes, baby showers, and Instagram captions all told the same story. Yet lately, something feels off, and the absence speaks louder than any public smile. When friendships that once felt effortless suddenly require choreography, people start asking why. Contrast matters here. 2 months earlier, in November, Meghan and Prince Harry appeared at the Baby to Baby Gala, applauding Serena as she accepted an award, posing as if nothing had changed. To casual viewers, it looked warm, familiar, reassuring. To those who watch patterns rather than pictures, it looked staged. Real friends don't need to rehearse comfort. Real closeness leaks out in unscripted moments, in children playing together, in stories told without microphones nearby. That ease is what now appears missing. According to multiple insiders, the tension didn't erupt overnight. It built slowly, quietly, the way trust erodes when boundaries blur. The alleged catalyst was a private gathering in late 2024 involving Serena's husband, Alexis Ohanian. Accounts vary, details are carefully hedged, but the core claim is consistent. Meghan's behavior reportedly crossed from friendly into inappropriate, enough that it was noticed, enough that it was remembered. Whether Serena witnessed it directly or heard it from someone she trusts implicitly, the effect was the same. Something fundamental broke. Understanding why this matters requires understanding Serena. She is not a woman who tolerates disrespect, especially where her family is concerned. Her public persona may be warm and playful, but her private code is firm. Loyalty is non-negotiable. Once violated, access changes. That distinction explains the current dynamic. Public civility remains. Private intimacy does not. They can share a stage, but not a circle. What makes this story resonate is not salacious rumor, but contrast between image and reality. Meghan's brand centers on empathy, authenticity, and female solidarity. Serena's life reflects consistency, long-term partnerships, and fierce protection of what she's built. When those value systems collide, the fallout is rarely loud. It's quiet withdrawal, missed calls, shortened visits, polite distance wrapped in professionalism. As the new year begins, the question isn't whether a dramatic confrontation will happen, it's whether the truth is already visible to anyone willing to look past curated moments. Friendships don't always end with explosions. Sometimes they end with space, and sometimes that silence tells you everything you need to know. In that silence, speculation grows, not because audiences crave scandal, but because patterns invite interpretation. When two powerful women shift from organic closeness to ceremonial interaction, it signals a recalibration of trust. Whatever truly happened may remain private forever, yet the emotional temperature has undeniably changed, and no amount of polished appearances can fully conceal it. To understand why this alleged betrayal cuts so deeply, you have to rewind to how the friendship began and what it represented to each woman. Meghan Markle met Serena Williams in 2010 at the Super Bowl, long before royalty, Netflix deals, or global controversy. At that point, Serena was already an icon, dominant, wealthy, and untouchable in her field. Meghan was an actress still fighting for recognition, navigating Hollywood through auditions, connections, and hope. When they reconnected years later, the bond seemed natural, even charming, a rising figure orbiting an established star. Over time, that relationship grew into something that looked genuine. Meghan appeared courtside at Wimbledon, cheering with emotion. Serena attended Meghan's wedding as a prized guest. She organized a lavish baby shower, defended Meghan publicly after the Oprah interview, and framed the friendship as rooted in compassion and loyalty. For outsiders, it felt rare and real. Yet beneath that warmth was a quiet imbalance that often exists in celebrity relationships, one person benefiting more than the other. Serena never needed Meghan's platform. Meghan undeniably benefited from Serena's. Access matters in elite circles, and proximity to power confers credibility. Being seen with Serena Williams opened doors, softened criticism, and reinforced Meghan's image as supported and admired by accomplished women. For Serena, the friendship offered companionship and shared moments, but not leverage. That asymmetry doesn't doom a relationship, but it makes it fragile. When respect slips, the cost is unequal. This context matters when examining the alleged incident involving Alexis Ohanian. If the reports are even partially true, the issue isn't flirtation alone, it's the violation of an unspoken contract. Friends protect each other's homes, they don't test boundaries inside them. Crossing that line reframes everything that came before, turning memories into questions and loyalty into doubt. What makes the situation more compelling is the role of Serena's mother. Those close to Serena understand her mother's influence and presence. She has been there for every high and low, every triumph and injury. If she reacted coldly, if she withdrew immediately, that reaction alone suggests something serious occurred. Mothers don't misread energy where their children's marriages are concerned. They act on instinct, sharpened by years of observation. After that moment, the timeline tells its own story. Private interactions faded, casual sightings vanished. What remained were formal appearances, controlled settings where smiles are expected and narratives managed. Even gestures that looked friendly felt transactional. Gifts became branded, posts became brief, warmth became performative. This is how modern celebrity fallouts often unfold, not with public accusations, but with strategic distance. No interviews, no messy revelations, just absence. For Serena, that approach preserves dignity and protects her family. For Meghan, it preserves plausible deniability. Yet the shift is unmistakable. When a friendship once defined by access and intimacy becomes limited to optics, it signals a decisive, irreversible change, one rooted not in gossip, but in broken trust that neither spotlight nor silence can truly repair. The distance now feels intentional, permanent, and maintained. What complicates this story further is how neatly the alleged incident aligns with long-standing criticisms of Meghan's relational style. Fair or not, a consistent narrative follows her through Hollywood, royal life, and now post-royal branding. Relationships appear intensely close at first, publicly affirming, emotionally expressive, then abruptly distant once their usefulness fades or boundaries are challenged. Former friends become strangers, allies become liabilities. The pattern doesn't prove wrongdoing, but repetition invites scrutiny. If you view the Serena situation through that lens, the alleged flirtation isn't an isolated misstep. It becomes symbolic. It suggests a mindset where proximity to power overrides sensitivity to consequence. Alexis Ohanian is not merely a husband. He is a tech billionaire, an influential investor, a connector across Silicon Valley and media. For someone building lifestyle brands and production ventures, that access is valuable. Even the perception that it was pursued at the expense of a friend is enough to permanently alter how that friend sees you. Alexis himself is an important counterpoint here. By all accounts, he is deeply committed to Serena and their family. He has built a public reputation around integrity, advocacy, and presence as a husband and father. That matters because it reframes the alleged behavior as one-sided. This was not a mutual indiscretion whispered about later. If it happened, it was inappropriate regardless of outcome. Intent alone is enough to fracture trust. Serena's response, however, is what truly distinguishes this situation from tabloid drama. She did not retaliate. She did not leak stories. She did not weaponize her platform. Instead, she did what powerful, secure people often do. She removed access, quietly, permanently, without spectacle. That kind of boundary setting doesn't seek validation, it signals finality. Compare that with how Meghan has historically handled conflict. When relationships sour, the narrative often shifts outward. Interviews, documentaries, and statements frame her as misunderstood, mistreated, or betrayed. That strategy keeps her at the center of conversation, but it also leaves a trail of severed connections, family estrangements, royal rifts, former friends fading into silence. Each instance can be explained individually. Together, they form a pattern that becomes harder to ignore. This is why Serena's silence is so powerful. It denies Meghan the oxygen of public confrontation. There is no villain role to play, no injustice to monetize, just distance. And distance is devastating when your brand depends on perceived closeness, community, and authenticity. As 2026 unfolds, the contrast between public image and private reality grows sharper. Meghan launches projects built on the language of connection, while her inner circle appears increasingly hollowed out. Serena, meanwhile, continues expanding her legacy, grounded in family and long-term partnerships that have endured scrutiny and success. Whatever truly happened between them may never be confirmed. It doesn't need to be. The evidence is in behavior, not headlines. Friendships don't survive broken trust simply because cameras are present. They survive on respect. And when that disappears, all that remains is performance. Performance can last a while, but it always feels thinner than the real thing, and eventually everyone senses the difference. As this story settles into the public imagination, the most revealing element is not the alleged flirtation itself, but what followed: silence, space, strategic absence. In celebrity culture, those are rarely accidents. They are choices made by people who understand leverage, optics, and long-term consequence. Serena Williams understands all three. She has spent decades navigating pressure without losing her center, and that discipline shows here. If this friendship were truly intact, we would see evidence that cannot be staged. We would see unguarded moments, shared holidays, children together without press releases attached. Instead, what remains are curated flashes, designed to freeze a narrative in place while reality moves on underneath. That gap between appearance and truth is where public trust erodes, and it is where Meghan's image struggles most. There is also a deeper irony at play. Meghan's brand insists on authenticity, vulnerability, and healing, yet the most consistent feature of her public life is relational fallout, followed by reinvention. Each new chapter asks the audience to forget the last, to accept that every broken bond was unavoidable, necessary, or someone else's fault. That cycle works until it doesn't. Eventually, patterns outweigh explanations. Serena's quiet withdrawal exposes that contrast without saying a word. It reframes the story from scandal to consequence. No accusations are required when behavior alone tells a coherent story. Power is revealed not through confrontation, but through the ability to walk away without explanation and still thrive. For Meghan, the cost may not be immediate. Public sympathy can be extended. Projects can still launch. Appearances can still be booked. But trust, once cracked, changes how every interaction is interpreted. Support becomes conditional. Praise becomes transactional. And friendships become fragile performances rather than safe harbors. As 2026 continues, audiences will keep watching not for confirmation, but for consistency. Do relationships stabilize, or do they keep dissolving? Do words align with actions, or does the gap widen further? Those answers will matter far more than any rumor ever could. In the end, this isn't just a story about two famous women and one uncomfortable moment. It's about boundaries, power, and the difference between real connection and curated closeness. Serena appears to have chosen peace over performance. Meghan appears to have chosen performance over repair, and that difference explains everything about why a friendship that once looked unshakable now exists only in carefully controlled frames, fading quietly as the truth carries on without commentary. This conclusion lingers because it mirrors a broader lesson audiences instinctively recognize. When credibility depends on connection, every lost relationship weakens the structure holding the story together. Smiles can be practiced, alliances announced, and narratives rehearsed, but emotional consistency cannot be faked indefinitely. People notice who stays, who leaves, and who is quietly removed. Over time, silence becomes evidence, distance becomes context, and absence becomes explanation. That is why this fracture matters, and why its impact will extend far beyond any single friendship. Long after headlines fade, patterns remain, shaping reputations permanently worldwide.